You're muted, Sean.
Oh, I am muted. Hi. AI has invaded comics. And it appears that we're in the future now because this shit is all over the place. And DC's in the muck, Valiant's in the muck, Marvel's mum about the subject for now, but we won't be. We have a lot to say about AI today. And not only that, but we're going to be talking a little bit later about Ed Piskor and everything that's been going on with that. So we have a jam-packed show today. It's Batman Day. Didn't you know it? We're going to be celebrating the Caped Crusader a little bit later. Should be fun. The gang is all here. We've got Kale.
What's up, hot dogs?
Marco.
010101.
And Tyler.
Is Marco the Ultron of the show?
I hope so.
Well, I'm the Sean of the show. And we appreciate you all being here now or in the future. If you are live with us, make sure you Hulk smash that like button. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let's talk AI.
Oh,
Marco's favorite subject.
Joke?
oh.
What? Oh,
Surely
wow.
somebody's made that joke.
I don't know.
Oh,
I see what you did there. That was good.
So we already know about the allegations that came out a few weeks ago about Andrea Sorrentino as it relates to the Batman Year One stuff. We'll get into that a little bit more deeply in a moment. What I think the big headline this week was, for me at least, was DC. DC's accusations as far as using AI art, allowing the use of it in their work, or at the very least, not outright stopping it. And to be fair, it's a plague. And it's a difficult one to suss out. So if editorial, for example, or even the writers or, everybody along the process is just, looking at art, they're looking for, the sorts of inconsistencies and problems that editors have to find, they might not be thinking about, is this AI generated or not? And Sorrentino's style, certain times, maybe you would look at what he did in Joker and just say, okay, well, that's his style, that's his way.
Yeah, it's always been photo referencing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We had that discussion on the air, like couldn't suss it out.
Right, exactly. So there were those allegations, and we even sort of said, hey guys, look, he posted his process, or at least a piece of his process, and we don't know what this is. So we'd rather err on the side of not starting something where there might not be anything. But other allegations, not related to him yet, other allegations relating to DC artists and DC artwork also came out this week. And there was a Power Girl image. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Yeah.
That people were saying was AI.
I have the Captain Marvel one up.
Sorry?
I have the Captain Marvel one up on the screen. Yeah.
And these are covers. There's a Wonder Woman cover. There's a Power Girl one. These are covers by Jing Zhong Guo for DC.
They go by Dai Show.
Dai Show. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, there were breakdowns of why these are considered to be AI. There was a Tumblr user who did a whole breakdown. Sorantis was asking about what happened with these covers. Actually, it was James Leach that did the breakdown. But a Tumblr user asked what was going on with this. And to my blind eye, like, I'll be honest, to my blind eye, I can't suss it out. And that scares the shit out of me.
There's something about the DC covers that jumps out to me, and it's always the light source. The light source for AI generated stuff always is similar for some reason.
In the same way that like an Alex Ross always has it coming from a place. I know what you mean.
Sure, but it's always like above them, and there's always the shading is always pronounced in certain areas.
I think they've worked to solve some of the hand issues to some degree, but it's also pieces of blending where some like a segment of, I think the example gets made, the belt kind of blends into another part of the body, or it awkwardly curves into the like an empty space. I think those are the parts where like the finer details of closing the line of a silhouette starts to make it get a little murky.
But to Sean's point, like at first glance, you can't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I have to, like I on the Power Girl image specifically, like I found some stuff that's like, okay, that's pretty clearly not right. Like no artist in there, no artist worth their salt would make a mistake like this, like the hair. But it's also like you really got to look for it.
Well, but then the hair, I thought of what's his name, Jai Lee, and
But-
then it to the point of it being difficult to suss out. Like I can
But-
see the influences, you know what I mean?
But look at especially on the left hand side, where the bit that makes that sort of I don't know, upside down J shape,
Yeah, yeah.
that's not connected to anything.
And if you look at if there's a wind source here, right? Because we're supposed to be getting a wind source, all of the smoke in the background and the hair is going in one direction from the bottom corner into the top right corner, but the cape is just flusher back where it would be an onward heading. So there's small details of inconsistency that have to get sussed out.
As you guys talk about this, I can only think of where the fuck did we go wrong? Like, like this is how we have to talk about art now. Like, oh, does it look good? No, let's forget that first. First, we need to verify if a human made this, and then we have to debate over that.
It's a very bizarre place that we are in right now. There are threads all over the place dedicated to evaluating art and saying, hey, wait, this is a little funky. Is this AI? Is this real? Who did this? How much of this was AI assisted? And I have to say, it kind of takes the fun out of this whole comics thing in a way. I was reading these threads and these conversations about these particular pieces, and it's just like, man, if Sorrentino or the artist behind these covers here, if these individuals did not use AI generative artwork to even supplement what they're doing, if they did not do that, then imagine being them. Imagine having to look at these threads of people trying to say, hey, that inconsistency, that's a natural part of what you do as an artist, that shows me that this is AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa, what the fuck? An inconsistency could be stylistic. An inconsistency could just be, oh, I fucked up and I didn't have the time to go back and fix it because I'm on crunch.
Yeah.
But now an inconsistency could mean that you're gaming the system.
And and I think that part of inconsistency, when you run through an AI verifier, because it's all still a black box, like you're basically just uploading an image and saying, is this AI, yes or no? And it spits out an answer, right? And to your point, if there's an inconsistency that maybe gets picked up while scraping via the AI tool, and that gets applied, the accusation gets thrown there, or at the very least it says, well, because we noted this thing, which is identified as being stylistically different and being an identifier of this artist, we throw it in here, it gets flagged as AI.
Those AI detectors or whatever sure aren't being used to train more AI.
Oh, actually, that's a good point. Yeah. But then it learns from that, right? And then it learns that maybe
That's what I'm
this,
saying.
but I think it also learns that this is a stylistic thing from this person. We're gonna replicate that, and if that person, to Sean's point, draws it and is that as a thing that is a natural inconsistency, it gets flagged in the future as AI because it's learned that thing.
I mean, I think it's a little creepy that AI is detecting AI art in
Word.
general.
Mhm.
But yeah, they have these detectors now, and you know, these pieces were actually passed through an AI detector. Some of the Sorrentino stuff was passed through, the Dow stuff was passed through, and in the case of the Power Girl piece, it says AI probability 0.5%. Now, when you look and you analyze the Power Girl piece and you analyze it with someone breaking down all the reasons why this is probably AI, you look at it and you go, okay, I guess I believe it. Some of this stuff is bizarre. Does Power Girl really wear all those, you know, things on her wrists and blah 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 blah? But then you pass it through an AI detector and it gets a 0.5%. So does that mean that AI wasn't involved? Or does that mean that it was involved in such a great degree or with such skill, you know, to cover up the AI involvement that it passed the smell test?
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, there are multiple different AI detectors out there that give different results.
Right,
So it's like, all right, which one do you even use at that point?
right. So it's like we started having this conversation, I want to say about a year ago. And at that point, it was like, ah, this stuff doesn't even look good. This stuff isn't good. This stuff sucks. It sucked and it was morally reprehensible. Now, it's to the blind eye, it's kind of passable. Not always, but for me, I know that I just do not have the eye for this thing. I just don't.
Yep.
I don't even want to. Like, I don't want to have the eye. But so the Power Girl one passed the smell test of this particular generator detector, but then the Wonder Woman one came up 42.2%. So does that mean that it was partially AI generated? Does that mean that pieces of the image were developed by AI? When you look at it and someone breaks down all the problems with this Wonder Woman piece, you go, okay, yeah, that shield doesn't make any sense. What is that? You know, there's certain things that just don't quite add up.
I think the percentage is likelihood, not the percentage of the piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it says probability. Yeah, I get that. But
But it makes it difficult to, like, how do we critique the art now? Like, well, for these creators, right? Let's say the initial accusation for that first cover, which shows 0% or a minuscule amount, right? And probability. Let's say it had previously been higher. We critique it from that lens, and then is it a matter of re-examining the art and therefore re-critiquing the artist? And we called out those inconsistencies as being maybe hallmarks of being AI tool or being AI generated, when it's a style. And now do we not denigrate, but do we take off points, let's say, for that style?
Are you under the assumption that somebody is being accused of AI, comes out that it's not AI, and they've already had the discussion about inconsistencies?
Right, right. And so now is it, oh, now it's just maybe the artist in question, not that wasn't skilled, but maybe made a mistake here or two, but then that's part of the human element, but we've critiqued it already.
It it's a bit of a scarlet letter situation, I feel, you know,
Yeah.
where I mean, it doesn't help when the artists do not have any kind of response to it. Not that anyone is due. You're owed a response from anyone.
And to
But
be honest, I don't blame them. Like,
I mean,
I don't want
yeah,
that heat.
yeah. What are you gonna do?
if
Lie? Just be quiet. Yeah.
yeah, but to like, I don't like it, but if they're smart, they'll stay shut up about it.
The option is either lie or fight yourself in the replies. You know,
Yeah,
which
drown
neither
in the
sound fun.
replies.
Yeah, and so these accusations that we're talking about here come from DC. These are coming from in-house.
Mm.
And it's sort of a bummer that this is happening at DC Comics because allegedly they have a policy against this. A spokesperson actually for DC spoke to Indie 100 about this issue and said DC Comics has longstanding policies in place that all artwork must be the artist's original work. We are looking into the specifics of this situation. Now, if you think that the reason that DC has that policy is because of morality, you're wrong. It is not because of that. It is because of copyright and trademark. And so, art that's not yours, you cannot copyright. So if I'm an artist for DC, but actually Kale is my ghost artist, and I'm passing off Kale's work as mine, and then at some point DC finds out about that, or Kale's done with the partnership and says, hey, this dude's been stealing my work, or this isn't his work, he's been representing it as his, DC could have a quagmire on their hands. Because I am the person who said they did this, but it wasn't actually me that did it. This is a similar problem because if the AI generated images are appearing in DC Comics, then those are not trademarkable.
Oh, I see.
And that's already been proven. Like you can't trademark an AI image.
That is
Right,
that is
by law.
what
Yeah.
the government says. That's the law. Yeah.
Yeah. Has that
So-
been passed here? I know it was something in the UK and partially in the EU. Is that still in question here?
I believe so,
Mm.
as far as I know. So if Sorrentino, for example, if what people have said is true, and he did use AI generated images within the pages of Joker Year One, then what happens? That's a big time problem for DC. And they can't have copyright problems for characters who the copyright is about to expire anyway, and they're about to have that battle in 10 years.
Yep.
What do you think what do you think happens to the trade? I mean, DC's got at least 2 years before they put out the trade for this. So, but I'm curious. Like, do they redraw it? Like, is it too legally obtuse to reprint?
It's probably still in a gray area of like we can
Well,
put
ma-
it out. What?
My man didn't even want to draw it the first time. What makes you think he's going to do it a second?
Oh, I'm not saying he redraws it.
Right. They get
Yeah.
somebody else to do it. They
Like
get
Riley
somebody to
Rosmo.
do it. Ooh,
Actually, that'd be pretty good.
that'd be good. That'd be good. Different, but like, yeah, it'd be good. But it's in such a gray area where I feel like you publish it, make your money off of it until they say, hey, actually, you can't. This doesn't count, or they prove that it is AI. Hey, you can't copyright this, therefore you can't technically sell it at a profit. And then they have to decide what to do with it. At that point, probably don't publish it.
Do you think we're going to see a big, maybe not necessarily a big one, but do you think we're going to see a split similar to like the comic skaters and like EVS again? You know, not necessarily that the AI people are going to go super right wing or whatever, but you know, we're going to have like another faction of people who are like, yeah, AI art, fuck it, the big companies will let me do it, buy all my products with AI art.
Of course, it's already happening.
Okay, great.
It's already happening. As I was doing research for this, I found countless threads on X of people showing off their artwork, and it's just
Well,
prompts that they threw out that spit out garbage. Like it's like none of this stuff even makes storytelling sense. Somebody in the chat asked about that. Uncaged asked, what would this look like on interiors versus covers? Can AI do interiors? Well, the artwork that's on the screen right now that Tyler is showing off is interior work. That is Sorrentino's interior work from Joker Year One. And again, we do not know for a fact that this is that these are AI generated images. In a way, it makes me sick to even have this conversation about this work, because it just feels shitty to accuse somebody of this. And we're still in the very early stages, and Sorrentino is one of the artists whose work I have always enjoyed a lot. So I don't take any pleasure out of having this conversation. But let's say that this is AI generated for the sake of this discussion, right? If it is, then you can see that it's creepy and it's a bit disturbing. And as you go through the book, because this is just one image, but there are images of, Batman, which is clearly Batfleck. Like it's undeniably Batfleck.
Which for Sorrentino is not out of the realm of possibility. He has photo referenced heavily before.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would argue there's no real issue with photo referencing for art.
No.
Alex Ross
Absolutely
has done
not.
it. Like it's a normal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not. But if you look, like even these images now of Bruce kissing Selina and the Joker on the cross, I've seen some breakdowns that make a tremendous case for why these are AI generated images. James Leach, who is a writer and designer, is one of the people who initially brought the accusations against Sorrentino, and did a great breakdown of why he had the feelings that he felt. He didn't make these accusations lightly. I'll quote from James. First off, there are the usual telltale signs. Strange anatomy, errors a human is unlikely to make. The weird hands, Joker being insanely ripped in one panel and wasting away in another. His wandering nipples. This shift in styles becomes more suspicious when you note there seem to be additions in much more basic brush. Look at the repetition and shape on the large black stroke in the first image, the daubs of red in the second and third. If you're actually painting these, why skimp here? The anatomy of the Joker is a great telltale sign in my mind, because if you look at the panel on top that Tyler has, if that panel stretches down and you can see the whole thing, his midsection, his abs are insanely ripped. Joker is in the greatest shape of his life on that cross. This man has never looked better in that way. But then in the image in which he rises out of the water, and there's a juxtaposition in the Bleeding Cool article that I'm referring to by Rich Johnson, he's emaciated. You can see practically his bones. He has absolutely no muscle at all.
And the other thing
it's the same book.
Yeah. The other thing that jumped out to me is the one on the cross, which I don't have the full image because I wanted to limit the amount of slides. But he's wearing jeans and sneakers. At what point does Joker ever wear jeans and sneakers? Like, I don't understand as an artistic point either doing that. And he's got a nipple that's three stories below the other one. Like, I mean, I guess biologically that could happen, but it's unlikely.
And maybe those were the decisions that Sorrentino chose to make for the book. And we could say, oh, that doesn't make any sense for whatever reason. But that could happen. But when we looked at it and when we had the conversation on Pals Pulls, we said, without even doing that deep of a dive into, I mean, none of us are artists, we said this feels weird.
Even the different facial structure between those two images is like, within a page of each other.
Yeah.
The one that jumped out to me was the Catwoman image, because the mask changes by panel, like completely. The shape of the mask changes. And it just reeked of, all right, different, like the same prompt in different angles. And of course, it's not going to generate that exactly the same. And it's possible it could, because I know Sorrentino showed like pencils for one of the Joker rising from the water. It's possible you could do a generated AI image and then draw over it.
That is what James Leach was essentially saying, that there were pieces here that looked like there were brush strokes over them that were more basic, that didn't seem to have a place So yeah, I mean, and then actually you brought up the Catwoman one, and Leach took a look at that one as well. And he said, here's a good example of seemingly carefully painted art being modified in pretty rudimentary fashion, presumably because it didn't fit the intended purpose. The sharp outlines around the cut and pasted hair in comparison to the brushstrokes around it and the repeated elements.
Yeah, that was the big one for me. Where like I think the other things can be a choice, odd but a choice. Those where you see the edits. In particular, I think it was a moment on the belt of just like copy paste, copy paste, copy paste for the thing, which maybe you have a brush that way. You can build brushes in that way to sequentially drive across. Fine, whatever. But the difference in fidelity or resolution of a painted layer versus uh, just another layer where a line was drawn. Those are the big things where it's like if you're drawing all of this and you're doing it on layers, all of the resolution should all be the same. That's the biggest thing for me is why do you have different resolutions? Make your artistic choices. I can disagree or agree with, fine, but what are we doing here when one of the layers that you have there is just fuzzy and doesn't look like you've put something on a Photoshop or an Illustrator file?
Well, a user of Twitter X took that image, Batwoman, the Batman Catwoman image, and ran it through you know some paces as well. So this is what Twitter user Debujante de Mierda said. As soon as I saw those panels, it reeked of AI, so I did a test. And this is what Bing generated. It looks way too similar to his results to just be a coincidence. And this one too, with only black, I mean Catwoman. So what they posted then is a series of results from Bing with the prompt Batfleck kissing Catwoman. She is wearing white wavy bob, black C dot 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 cat, black cat. And the results are crazy similar to what we got in the Batman Year One issue. Very, very, very similar. Now, that again does not mean that what Sorrentino did is AI generated, because it's common sense. If you're asking for if he sat down to draw essentially Batfleck and Catwoman kissing, then what we got in the book would be that. And I understand why AI would spit out something that looks a lot like that. But the similarities are just so uncanny. They really are. It's not just the pose, which is very, very, very much the same.
And again, it's that same type of light source too. That's like overhead.
You're right, yeah. And I never, Tyler, I never even I never knew that. I only started noticing it now that you're saying it. But I never snuffed that out. So it sucks. It sucks for everybody involved in this. This isn't fun.
I can only imagine what the
style,
collaborators think too, like Lemire and
Yeah.
Zarsky. Like,
Yeah.
that's got to be a bummer on their end.
And if you guys want to look at this, I don't know if you saw this already, but this one really sucked for me when I saw it. This one made me go, this is really bullshit. It's disheartening. So another comment took one of the images from the actual book and juxtaposed it with an AI generated image that came from a prompt, and it looks the same. It's crazy how similar it is. So, quote, one of these is an actual Batman panel from Batman 143 made by an alleged renowned artist, of course, referring to Sorrentino. The other is made by an AI after I wrote a description, then I added the text. Can you guess which one is it? Fuck you, DC, for hiring someone like that and promoting this kind of bullshit. It looks the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a degree to it where what's that that Wally Wood thing, the 15 comic covers you'll ever need or comic book panels you'll ever need.
Yeah.
And that's where I start to worry a little bit too, is just like there's a way to represent a page optimally, and in order to maximize communication, right? Like we've had conversation where a heightened moment in a page maybe could have been portrayed better, and maybe there are consistencies in ways to portray those things. For the thing where Batman and Catwoman are kissing, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, but a profile shot of that, the positioning, the composition of that makes sense outside of the things we've called out previously with like the resolution. But like to what degree then is the same way you have all the similar movie posters, right? Like
Sure.
to what degree can you represent something and not have it be accused?
I think we're at the point where if someone has a strong, sense of it, the accusations are just going to fly.
Mm.
And Rami actually made an incredible point that I hadn't even considered. And I wonder if this is possible. He says, by the way, there's a possibility that AI generated those images because the book came before people tried to generate those images.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Like that's insane. So then if Sorrentino cannot prove that he did not use AI generated assistance, but the AI generators are now working off of his art from the book that people are accusing, then what could he possibly do if it's going to spit out variations of what he did because he did it? That's crazy.
And him being the source, right? You have the heightened potential for it being more and more likely because again, it scraped it off of that. So even if you run it through a validator, it's going to say it is because, well, this is the original.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, but editors do not get paid enough at the big two to become inquisitors at the same time.
Yeah.
And no one who's trained for that.
AI isn't even trained fully for it.
Right. That's no one's job.
It's just got to be like a trust thing, unfortunately.
Damn,
and that's not good enough because these big two companies are there's a lot on the line for them if AI generated images sneak past them multiple times.
Well, okay. I mean, we're here. Let's talk about that. Yeah, I was gonna say that as a question for the end of this, but like, how do we fight this? Do we
Like
just
we?
boycott? Yeah. Do we boycott DC? Do we boycott, certain creators? Because at a certain point, even if we're buying, so this is Batman, right? The main Batman. Okay, so we can't use the main Batman because Sorrentino uses AI art. Okay, so we go to detective. But like at a certain point, the DC people are just diving, Scrooge McDucking into, all the $9.99 issues we're paying them. So they're still gonna, use people who use AI art.
I think the only thing we could do is call out when we see it, and if there's enough backlash, on the internet for a certain creator who uses AI, and again, I think proving it is the tricky part, but I would think as an editor who would want to curate things, you would just avoid that artist at that point. I got to assume if there's enough, and the bad part is if there's enough reputable or unreputable stink on an artist's name for using AI, any editor will just avoid that artist.
But let's say for Sorrentino here, right? Like I'm ready to have my heart broken, but I trust Sorrentino. Like how do you balance that then? Then I have to go off of, well, he's been accused. I'm going to take the accusation as validity, as opposed to this. I'm taking this also as he's innocent, right? Until without a doubt you see the text prompt from his fucking computer, right? Up until then, I trust the dude. I have to trust the dude.
I also have eyeballs.
Yeah, but
no.
Until you see the text prompt, but then how are you, like, when are you ever going to see the text prompt?
Well,
Maybe never.
I feel like what Marco is saying is that, with these artists who we love, there is an inherent faith in them. Prior to this, prior to all of this shit, you wouldn't think, like, the biggest person that got accused of like plagiarizing or whatever is essentially Greg Land, right? For all of his tracing and all of that stuff, right? And he's had a hard go of it with people just giving him crap. But outside of that, we've been able to just rely on the fact that what we're getting is from the artist, and quite frankly, even what Greg Land does is from Greg Land.
Sure.
Tracing is what it is.
Yep.
But now, all of a sudden, you have to question artists who, for a decade plus, you've just been a fan of. So Marco's saying, I just don't want to castigate the guy out the gate because I saw something that might look a little funky. And I can understand that.
I think it gets even harder going forward. Like right now, we're still in the early stages, like where like this stuff reeks of AI to me. Like I'm a Sorrentino head too, but I could look at this and be like, all right, no, this is clearly AI.
But also, it's getting to be more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't quite gotten there yet, but we have a Twitter post of an indie image.
Yeah.
From Sorrentino that's very clearly AI, and you can tell because he tried to correct it, and his corrections have higher resolution than the actual AI image.
Yeah, so we can just dive into that now. It's from Tenement, which is with Lemire, I believe. It's Sorrentino and Lemire, and I think it's the Bone Orchard franchise that they have.
Image.
Okay.
And actually, that's a good comic book. We read one for the show, and it was pretty good. And so now, people, in particular, Artyom Tsukovich on Twitter, posted images from this comic book and said it really looks like Sorrentino is using AI full time now. And look, I looked at this, and Kale just said why this is clearly AI generated, and I looked at this and I said, listen, so then fuck it then. So then I don't know. Because I looked at this and I have no idea what the problem is. I really don't. I looked at it and I was like, well, this looks sort of cool, actually. I don't know. What the fuck? What's the problem here?
Sean, look at the one with the tower and the pyramids in the background, right?
Yeah.
So you see that little, almost looks like a crack pipe going up into that tower, like the line and the ball up top, like that cut out almost.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
The quality of that compared to what's behind it is immeasurably different, and so are the birds if you zoom in.
All right. Yeah.
Which at that point, even if it's not AI art, it's poor digital art. Like at the most safest way to describe that.
And what is that crack pipe about? Yeah, that is kind of weird.
I mean, I'm not reading the book, so yeah.
You're right, but like, maybe this is exposing me. Maybe I don't analyze the art enough. Maybe that's something that I need to get better at. But I looked at this more than once, and without reading comments, because I didn't want to be influenced by people are saying this, so it must be true because I can see it too now. I wanted to just look, and when I just looked, I didn't see it.
That's my issue too. Is I feel like I have to be told what people are looking at to see if it matches up.
Right.
In this case, the thing Tyler was just talking about was that it matches up for me.
I only noticed it because I deal with different resolution covers when I do like the Palace Pulls announcements. So I have an eye for multiple different resolutions layered on top of each other.
And I forget, is Sorrentino, he's a multimedia guy, right? He does both digital and
AI.
Physical. Oh well.
Gotcha.
So my other thing on this one was, let's say this is uploaded, right? Let's say you've taken this from a physical, and I don't know if he has this as a physical thing. Like I'm making the assumption that, let's say this is drawn. Damn, if this is oil on canvas, that's buck wild. But whatever, right? Let's say it is.
Shame it isn't.
Well, and then after the fact, you go in, you've uploaded, you've scanned, you go in and you make the edit, right? Like and the reason I bring that up is because Tyler Crook, he's a gouache watercolor artist, right? He will upload things as a scan, and there's high fidelity scans for sure, but he goes in and sometimes does digital touch ups, and you can see that sometimes. They're not as blatant, I'll grant you that, but those are things that happen with physical artists who upload and scan pages.
Yeah, that's why I said at its best, it's just bad digital art.
Sure, sure.
But I think he's working with snake oil on Canva.
Fan.
Huh?
I saw people calling out Jeff Lemire over this. I like, what the like? You think that Jeff Lemire knew for a fact that Sorrentino used AI and said, "Oh, great, awesome."
Oh, you get me these pages pretty quickly.
Yeah, right.
And I have to wonder, like, what does all this backlash feel like for Sorrentino? Like, does he know? Like,
Certainly,
Yeah, I'm
because
sure he
at this
does.
point, DC has to have approached him. I don't have the source in front of me. I read somewhere that DC was investigating into the issue, whatever that
Yeah.
means.
yeah,
And so we'll see what the outcome of that is. But I have no doubt in my mind that DC is working on this because, again, this is a major problem.
Yeah.
This is a major problem for them, legally speaking. Their ability to profit off of their books, their ability to copyright their books. This is a problem. This cannot go on. It cannot go on.
Oh, and this is his book, so
Right.
so it's in his best interest to probably even not, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because then he's taking money
would
out of his
think.
own pocket.
Yeah.
Not only his own, but Lemire's too, and like any potential optioning for this book as a movie or a TV show.
Sure. Yeah.
There was one more DC example that I wanted to use, but this one is actually not from comics themselves. This is from a book that DC is putting out. So it's called DC Cinematic Universe, a celebration of DC at the movies, and the cover of it features, Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman, Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, like a bunch of those people, right? And a user Jordan Jabroni, which is like, now we have Jordan Jabroni being the person that's like these names. But it appears that DC Comics and Dorling Kindersley, that's the name of the publisher of the book, are using AI art on the cover of their new book and posting the following. So they post the image in this article, and the piece of Superman, the actual image of Christopher Reeve Superman, was ran through an AI generator detector, and it says 91.90% AI, 8.10% human. So that's pretty damning. But then Johnston ran it through another AI probability,
Thing.
yeah, and it came out to 0.7.
Fuck. You can't trust it, dude. And that's why like the Sorrentino piece, right? Is like somebody ran it through a specific thing, through a specific validation tool. Run it through another 15. And even if you do that and you get an average for what it is, you're running it through so many that it invalidates whether or not you can take it for fact.
Yeah.
I know they have similar ones for writing. I know colleges use it to see if something's
and
plagiarized. Yeah,
those are wrong too.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yeah, man.
And you can lose your whole college career over it. It can really screw you up. It can really jam you up, and it's just not correct.
One of the things that I was thinking about was, does this mean we're going back to the big the big pages? You gotta have physical artists and stuff now. Like, is there gonna be a preference for those? Does that put the careers of digital first or digital only artists in jeopardy? Because as this progresses and as these tools maybe scrape more of those people's art to build upon their models, the validity of whether or not it gets flagged as AI, probably goes up because it's scraping those images, right? And ingesting that style, do you then have a likelihood of hiring those people less? Because I can't be wrong about it for copyright reasons.
There's no way they're gonna limit digital art. It's quicker and easier for them to get than shipping physical art places.
But let's say however many this book sold, and let's say they can't
Sure.
sell it now, right? Let's say you can't work off of that. Is it cheaper? Is it still cheaper and faster if you lose out on 40,000 issues?
The only logical, I guess, fix for this would be legislation to limit AI as a public source, a public source thing, or limit what it can scrape from. Like if there's a way to make personal AI tools that can just scrape your own stuff that you've validated, then sure, I don't really see an issue with that. I think it's lazy, but morally, it's not as gray. But I think the only thing they can do is like maybe even like these are big, these companies are owned by big studios. They've pushed legislation before, but they don't want to.
But if you do, if let's say you do, you use it off of your own art, right? Let's say Sorrentino plugs into his thing, he
It
puts
doesn't
it into a
exist
thing.
yet though.
Well, but are you saying then that the output counts and is valid?
I think it's morally valid. I don't think it's artistically valid.
So then you run into the same issue though, right? You can't capitalize off of it. You can't, but you can't actually copyright it.
We're talking about a cryptid though. It doesn't exist. So like I don't even know we can even talk about the copyright of it. If he's just iterating on his own work, I don't see how that can't be copyrighted if they can prove that it's just his own work somehow through some kind of computer. But that doesn't exist. I'm just saying that the only way that they can do this is if they push for legislation that can make this not as easily acceptable for everyone to do. But they won't because they're owned by movie corporations who are actively using AI.
We've got Pete Collins in the chat. Thanks for being here, Pete. Check out the Bardic Verses. They actually had a crazy huge announcement this week. Band of Bards and Dauntless working together, two publishers doing cool stuff. And I'm sure Pete will be involved in that. Pete says, I'm a digital artist, at least for most of my work. I've been leaning more and more traditional the last 2 months to distance myself from the thought of even potentially being AI related. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem. That now artists have to reconsider their entire process in order to avoid the stench of this. That sucks.
Rami points out that digital art can be recorded, but I figure you would have to record the entire process.
Yeah.
Or you have to be live streaming 24/7.
Which
Well,
a lot of people
yeah,
do
not-
currently. Yeah.
Yeah, and not even, it would probably look like what Sorrentino posted to prove that it wasn't his. You know what I mean? Something that captures all the pencils and all the swatches and all the, the various things that, that would at least put off a reasonable doubt.
Let me move this conversation forward because a lot of people have been wondering what is the Marvel end of this. And so someone asked a question of Tom Breevort, a user named Dan, asked Tom Breevort, quote, there has been a story circulating online regarding an artist potentially using AI to create his art. As an editor, do you see an issue with this? So that's in reference to Sorrentino, certainly. And Tom Breevort is the top dog editor-wise at Marvel. So this answer that he gives is, you can take this as sort of where the Marvel line is right now. And he said, this is a complicated question, Dan, and not one that I expect I'm going to be able to address here completely. Sorry. Lousy leadoff question, I know, but tempers are so heightened around this subject that I don't think there's any answer that I could give here that wouldn't cause an uproar of some kind. So that is
fucking coward.
That is the least surprising response that I have seen because Marvel is risk-free. Marvel is as risk-averse as they come as a company. Nothing surprises me anymore as far as they go. after the fiasco with Secret Empire, I have
Okay,
felt that Marvel refuses to say anything or do anything that might be considered controversial on any level.
Well,
I
and
was gonna
that
say, yeah, go.
and I don't know if we're gonna say what I'm about to say, but I think that goes as far back as being bought by Disney.
Mm. I'm
They were
just saying
bought
they
by
used it.
oh, I see. Like back in the 2000s when that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
late 2000s. Hey, Empire was a very risky move. Making
Absolutely.
Hydra Cap was a very I was very locked in on that stuff. Now Marvel takes no risks at all, and it's sad. But here's the thing. Tom said I'm not going to be able to address this here completely. You didn't address it here at all. You didn't
At
say
all.
anything.
Word.
And it's going to cause an uproar of some kind. Well, are you, Mr. Marvel, upset at the idea, scared of upsetting people who support AI art? The same way that Marvel has been consistently afraid of upsetting people who are anti, people of color, anti-women. And they didn't step up and support Heather Antos when all that stuff went down, at least not to my recollection.
Nope.
Yep.
This is that same Marvel. So this answer doesn't surprise me, and I don't see Marvel putting their foot down in a moral way, but I certainly do see them having to address this from a legal standpoint. Because if this issue comes up for them, they're going to have the same problem DC has.
Yep.
I think any steps they take, DC or Marvel, will just be behind the scenes. They won't actually talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I could see them making a statement to if they have to, take a step. I could see them making a statement to make it seem like they're taking a stance against it to appease us and clear their name. But really, they're doing it because they have to.
Take a real politician stance on it. Honestly, somebody needs to grill CB or somebody at a convention. Honestly, bring this question up.
He won't answer.
Yeah, they won't answer.
Just keep doing it then.
They'll move along, and then you'll get kicked out. Like,
Yeah.
It's not-
Uncaged ran that answer. He said 0.05% answer.
well, run it through again. Those.
That's right. It could come back lower.
Valiant had a job posting looking for someone potentially using AI, an AI based job. They were looking for generative AI video artists.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fuck does that mean? When they were called out by Comic Tropes on Twitter, they took the job posting down.
And that's that Sora video AI, which is even scarier in my opinion.
Sora?
Yeah. No, it's not Kingdom Hearts related, Marco.
Here goes Marco.
I'm just looking at it, just seeing what it's about. I don't know.
And then did you guys see the Spawn stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had friends that entered that and are pissed about it.
Somebody in the community, I think, did. No?
I think Pete Collins actually
Yeah,
did,
that's
if
right,
I
yeah.
remember correctly. Yeah. And so Spawnuary was a contest that Todd McFarlane does for Spawn, where they bring, they want artists to design potential covers for an issue of Spawn, for Spawn related books. And then Todd chooses the winner. And then I guess those, they end up getting, published. Yeah, they become variants. And
Cover
so,
credits,
yeah. And so one of the winners of Spawnuary was a user named Luis Ruiz, whose name on Instagram is Robot9000. So right there, you got a problem. But this person, quote, is a regular AI prompt writer and regularly posts pictures created using AI. So, and then this person wins, right? They win the contest and they say, quote, "I'm a fanboy and I've always been one. This is my entry and I hope you dig it. So I guess my 5 years of drawing class did serve me well, huh?" And then you look at the images, as many people have, and it's like, whoa, there's definitely something wrong here, buddy. But it gets worse. It gets worse. Because over at Bleeding Cool, Rich Johnson actually was able to see through, I guess, Midjourney, this individual Robot 9000 has a Midjourney gallery
Yeah.
where you can
Yep.
see how their images came about.
With prompts
And-
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see that the images on Midjourney are the same exact ones that were used in the Spawnuary 24 contest. And you can see that the prompts are literally this. So for the character Cyber Gorilla, or what's his name? I forgot this character's name.
Sigor.
Yeah,
Sigor,
yeah. So this is the prompt. Cyborg Gorilla watercolor design by Ashley Wood, a person that is alive, that is an artist. Volumetric lighting, award-winning design.
Oh, what the fuck?
Award-winning design.
It did win an award, Sean.
If you're in the Midjourney Discord, you can actually see the guy.
Oh, huh? Were you in there,
If.
Marco?
I people join the Discord is what I'm saying.
Embarrassed.
No,
This
our
guy's just
people
a
don't.
dick. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's okay not to have the talent for something. Like, it's fine. You can do something else. You know, I used to draw when I was a kid. I sucked at it. I'm not an artist, and I'm okay with that.
That becomes the issue. Ultimately, like, people want the praise and the accolades and the attention that artists get without actually having the talent. And then they also have a disdain for actual artists. Look at what this dude said. He said, I guess my 5 years of art training paid off or whatever. That's mocking.
Bro just watched Bob Ross Twitch videos for 5 years. And, like, it's funny. There's another image that I think he got rid of from his Instagram, but it was Gunslinger Spawn. And in the hashtag it said Midjourney AI art. But not only that, but the Gunslinger Spawn face was literally copied and pasted from actual Todd McFarlane art. Which
And
is just
people
like,
are. Go ahead.
Did Todd pick the winners for this?
Yeah, but
yeah.
Todd McFarlane is. Look, maybe Todd doesn't even pick them himself. We don't know. We don't know the process. We don't know anything. So people have been saying, oh, Todd McFarlane supports AI art and all this other stuff. No, the fuck he doesn't, and you don't know that. The witch hunts have to stop. If you want to talk about the actual person that did this, that's one thing. But does Todd McFarlane want one of the variants to have this stink on it? Probably not. Does Jeff Lemire want the reputation of his book, Bone Orchard, which he feeds his children and family off of, to be this? Probably not. I don't suspect that Jeff Lemire is cool with this. So we need to cut the witch hunts out of people who aren't involved. Todd McFarlane hasn't addressed it yet, to my knowledge. But who wants to talk about this shit?
Yeah.
Also, Todd McFarlane also lives in his own world. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Cully Hamner, of course, a comic artist who's worked on, he co-created Blue Beetle. He took to Twitter and he went on a rant and he posted something that I thought was pretty poignant, and I like to hear from artists on this. So he said, there's been a lot of commentary and controversy over the increasing use of generative AI in every creative field, but comics has lately been very focused on the scourge of, quote, AI art. And let me put a point on this. It is a scourge. As a working comic book artist of over 30 years, I'm offended by its displacement of real artists who dedicated our lives to our craft, and I welcome the increasing scorn I'm seeing of it. But I have a couple of things that I'd like to see added to the conversation. Because AI art is becoming a buzzword, and it's just too narrow in scope. Because it's not just visual art. In my very recent experience, it's become clear to me that we need to be on the lookout for its use on the story side of things too. Pitches, plots, scripts, writers, generative AI has come for you too. It's here, and we all need to be paying attention to this. In comics, we're freelancers, and we don't have a union to protect us. We can't strike over this, but we should, all of us, get vocal over this. And here's another angle. People are already turning in AI generated work to publishers and not telling them that's what it is. If you've ever worked in this business, you know that editors are spread thin as it is, and this is a new thing they're going to have to learn to police. It's going to take time to develop policies and practice eyes to spot this stuff. But one thing that publishers are doing, and this is happening, trust me, is that they are going to be inserting language into their vouchers and contracts prohibiting freelancers from turning in work made with generative AI. I think this is ultimately good. But those of you who are thinking of using it under the table should be on notice that your shortcut could cost you in the long run. Agreed. And everything that he said makes it so that for me, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that squadron. I don't want to be the person whose job it is, whose responsibility is to mark the scarlet letter on artists and pour through covers and interiors to determine which of these books, these comics that I've been reading for 20 plus years, now have AI generated images in them. I don't want to do that. It's not fun.
But somebody's kind of has to.
And it don't have to be me.
Yeah, somebody does. It doesn't need to be us.
We're gonna critique the books. Like, I think that has to some degree come into play of like the quality of it, right? Because then we talk about page construction. We talk about how this works in terms of pacing, about whether this is the right panel or right moment. Like it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt the not validity, but the ultimate truth, I think.
I mean, I'll call out a wandering nipple though if it doesn't match the consecutive page afterwards, because then there's a storytelling issue there as well.
Quick shout out to Pete Collins. Thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. He says, for McFarlane to remain silent on this is a shame. The submission broke the rules and directly referenced Ashley Wood, who has contributed a ton of workload to McFarlane titles in the past. I think the fact that you call out Ashley Wood, bro, yeah.
Well, and not even that. McFarlane clearly does have a stance on it because the submission broke the rules. There were rules in place for it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Which is why you see the ones that have Midjourney AI hashtagged on his Instagram not there anymore.
Todd McFarlane?
No.
No.
Robot 9000.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
oh,
Thanks a lot, Pete, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Super chats are open. That is a reminder for everybody that is watching. If you want to contribute and support. I mean, yeah. Oh, you're right. And I would like Todd to say, hey, this isn't cool. This isn't what we're about. I would appreciate a statement like that from Todd as a fan of Spawn. Yeah, I agree with that. Do I believe, though, that Todd co-signs this? No, I don't. I don't believe he co-signs it. But I do think he should say something. He should condemn this. The same way I think Tom Breevort should have condemned it. And I think Todd more should condemn it because Todd is an artist.
well, and he's not chained down by an international conglomerate.
Sure.
Yeah. Todd is the face of Todd.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Todd's the face of Spawn.
Is wild that I know that's not the first time that sentence is existed in the world.
Oh man, not the kind of conversation that we necessarily want to start our Saturday morning with, but here we are. We don't shy away from any conversations, as you're going to hear a little bit later when we dive into Ed Piskor. There's a lot to say on that subject, unfortunately.
Ed Pester.
Oof.
Getting it started early, Kale.
That was almost in the title of the show. I figured that was just too much, but thanks, Kale.
Oh my goodness. Thank you everybody for all the conversations so far. You guys have been great. Really appreciate the chat, the engagement here. Comic Boom says writers take steps to avoid accusations of plagiarism. This is the artistic equivalent. That's in reference to artists needing to, document their process, which sucks. The idea that you now have to document your process, especially if you're a digital artist, is sort of messed up. And I don't envy any artists right now in this industry.
And those iPads only have so many gigabytes.
Word, yeah, you can't be recording all that stuff,
Like
man.
all those screen recordings, that's gonna take up space.
Yeah.
Awful situation. Uncaged says, my hedge is Ghost Machine. I trust them. We start next week. If DC can't get it under control, I can go with Fabok and Frank. One thing I can pretty much guarantee you is that Gary Frank ain't using no damn AI generated tool.
That said, don't don't get your hopes too high. You wouldn't have thought that about Sorrentino either.
Actually, there's a trajectory that makes sense for me.
I'm just saying that, like,
it could be who you least suspect.
Yeah,
because it's so easy and art is so hard.
There are communists among us, and I have their names here in a briefcase.
Okay, all right. Who are the pinkos of the comic book community?
Oh, man. We have a lot more show to do. Thanks for everybody that is hanging out with us right now. We got a whole boatload of y'all chilling with us today. Make sure that you are smashing that like button.
Smash it.
Because if we hit the likes goal, anybody know what amount of likes we're at right now? Anybody got that?
14?
I can only see one.
Wait, we are way low. We need to get that up.
I just refreshed. We've got 19.
Okay. If we get to 30, we are going to spin the wheel at the end. And today it's a special wheel spin that we're going to do. Because it's literally Batman Day, our wheel spin is going to be Batman dedicated, which means that whatever game we play, it will have a Batman focused theme to it. So that should be a lot of fun. Get us to that place so that we can have a little fun with you guys.
Give me the bat light. Give me the bat signal.
That's very good.
If you should have told me that yesterday, Marco.
Oh, I just thought it.
That is very good. This podcast is supported by you, the listener. Listeners like Pete that submitted a super chat. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the channel members in the chat. If you want to become a channel member, click the join button on this very video. That gives you early access to our YouTube videos, and it gives you our emojis, the green names in the chat. We appreciate everybody that hangs out with us on that side of things.
Shit.
Oh, wow. Wow, he actually did it. I cannot believe this. Atomic Hound. Wow. You knocked Tyler's hat off. Atomic Hound dropping the $49.99 super chat. Wow. Thank you so much. Just a shout out to the pals and community for all the great support you have provided me during this rough patch to start 2024. Much love to you all. Huge shout out. All the love right back at you, buddy. That is incredible. Thank you so much. That made my day.
Well, you better get on the horn with Mrs. Hound, because I think y'all are going to have a budget meeting.
I have a feeling this is co-signed by Mrs. Hound. Mrs. Hound, both hounds are very, very generous and have done a lot to support us. Really, really thank you so much for that.
Even though I have cats, I'm a hound guy as well. So.
Thank you so much. Speaking of support, I want to thank you to the people that are supporting us on Patreon. All of the fine individuals who are making this possible. You guys know by now, if you are supporting us at the I Shall Become a Pal tier or higher, that gives you a nickname, a superhero nickname, supervillain nickname, and a shout out every week here on this very show. You can join the Palsverse too, if you want to, as these people did. So, special shout out to the best pals in the universe, Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice, Atomic Hound, who we're shouting out yet again, Starcross Catherine Stars, and the Red Spiral Storm. I also want to thank the Night Stalker Harris Najinski, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, Joel Justice, Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Marley Manastorm, Slow Flow Dameron, Amin Almighty Perez, Christian Uncaged Harriet, Always Laughing, and the latest addition to the Palsverse. Yes, we have a new addition. Of course, thank you to this person. The Spear of Justice.
Oh, nice. Good play. Good play.
Thank you. Izzy Spears. Izzy has always walked sure-footed on the path of the righteous, even as a boy. His faith taught him the value of justice and the importance of individual action to help heal the world of its ills, and he took that responsibility seriously. So it wasn't a surprise to those closest to him when he ventured off to join the Peace Corps. He was confronted by injustice constantly: children without food, families with no drinking water. He was proud to be part of the solution, but part of him felt helpless in the face of so much human suffering. One night, the small town he and his crew were stationed at was attacked by raiders looking to steal food and supplies from the townspeople. Izzy awoke to yelling and gunfire and quickly rushed outside, seeing the horror unfolding for himself, and realized that he and his group had brought this on these people by trying to help them. He sprung into action, swiftly grabbing the arms of two children, the first two that he saw, and moving them to safety. Just then, one of the raiders came upon Izzy's position and struck him to the ground. The assailant raised his weapon as the children watched on, and Izzy stared back defiantly, not willing to wilt, even in the face of death. In that moment, he prayed. He prayed for the lives of these children, for the souls of the raiders. He prayed for justice. Suddenly, there was a blinding light, and Izzy thought it was over. He thought he was meeting his maker. That in his prayer, he missed the trigger being pulled. As the light subsided, he realized he was still alive, but also that something was different. In his hand, he now held a spear. It radiated light and felt like raw power. Before the assailant could catch his bearings, Izzy allowed instinct to take over, and he threw the spear. It flew with grace, as if Izzy had thrown it 100 times before. His aim was true, and the spear found its target, but it went through the attacker's body like a ghost. The raider fell to his knees, dropped his gun, and cried. He bawled his eyes out. The spear then rematerialized in Izzy's hand, and somehow he knew what to do next. He rushed to an open area where he could see as many of the raiders as possible and hurled his spear into the air. It split, and suddenly there were dozens of spears passing through the bodies of the raiders, who all fell to their knees, dropped their guns, and cried just as the first had. They wailed and apologized, and eventually they all walked themselves to jail. Izzy would slip away from this, unable to answer any of the questions that would inevitably come his way. He made his way back to America, now armed with the power to root out the evil in men and bring real justice to the world. It wouldn't be long upon his return to America that he'd encounter another true believer in justice who wants to fight back against the rising tide of evil. You might even say this old hound has a nose for it. The Hound and the Spear of Justice.
Yo.
Wonder what's next.
Yo.
It feels like
Yo.
you're forming some kind of justice gang.
That one might be one of my favorites you've done.
That was
Oh, thank you
rad.
so much.
That was very creative.
I was just
I
picturing
really
the-
enjoyed that.
The in Fortnite when you use the Zeus lightning bolt sort of thing. It kind of has like a cool effect. I play too much Fortnite. I'm sorry.
Sounds like it.
The passing through was the thing that got me. I was
Yeah.
like, all right. I was like, oh, nice, gets him.
Well,
Wait.
not only that, but when he throws it in the air and then it splits,
Yeah, I saw
and
your
then I
face.
went, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I saw your face on that one.
I'm glad you guys like that. Thank you so much, Izzy, for joining us and becoming a member of the Patreon and the Palsverse. Welcome. Welcome. Pete Collins says, I think the time has come for a Palsverse comic. That is, trust me, that is probably my biggest dream to do that. And that is something that I think we all want. So I think it'll come one day. Stay tuned. But Izzy actually did something else that I really love. I love when people join our Patreon. You guys are amazing. Everybody that supports us on there, whether you get a shout out on the show or not, know that we appreciate every single ounce of support that we get. But what Izzy did was Izzy went a step further, and Izzy wrote us an email.
Whoa.
And I love when we get an email.
Might as well send us a greeting card.
That'd be great too. Shit. I'm gonna just read it real fast. So Izzy said, "Hey pals, I've only been listening for a couple weeks now, but thoroughly enjoy the show. Your most recent interview with Sal put you on my radar, and since then, I've tried to catch a little bit of everything live. I immediately joined the Discord and have had such a blast interacting with the community. The four of you, plus your fans and listeners, have a really genuine mix of passion, background critique, and praise for the medium and all that relates to it. Even when you are ragging on each other, it doesn't come across as malicious, just some friends articulating their opinions and giving one another a hard time. I think you set the record for the shortest amount of time from me discovering a creator to becoming a patron. As I work through the show's immense backlog, a media consumption task almost as daunting as Sean's myriad stacks, I have been curious about the Comics Pals origins. Namely, how did you guys meet and come up with the idea for the show? How have you made the connections to interview such great creators? How has Kale lived in 75 different countries? I know I'll get to it eventually, but I'm looking down the barrel of 900 plus hours of content to get there.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's
you
crazy
are.
way to say that.
Will he get to it eventually, though?
So I wanted to read this email here because we're not going to answer it. We're not going to answer this today. We're not.
Tremendous.
But you may have noticed that this episode is 389. So I looked ahead and I said, well, geez, we have a pretty big milestone coming up. 400, that's a big deal. And I looked ahead to find out when we would be hitting our 400th episode. And it's a date. It's a very specific date. It is June 15th. Now, my birthday is the day after that, and Tyler's is the day, isn't it the day before?
It's the 19th, but
The 19th.
close enough.
The 19th. So it's our birthday weekend episode, Tyler and I.
And the
And
show.
I thought, sorry?
And the show, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's the 400th of the show. So I thought that would be a great time to reveal the origin of the comics. Now,
Wait,
that is not set in stone. We have not all discussed that. There may be dissension, but that's my thinking. That's what I'm thinking about.
and I think I've only heard the story in passing. I don't think you guys have fully told me the story,
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
Oh,
but yeah.
interesting.
So that might be an episode to look for.
So 400, the Comics Pounds round
Sounds
table.
like it will be.
It might be. Who knows? We might not do it, but we're going to do. Trust me, that episode of the show, no matter what we do, is going to be fucking awesome. I promise you. I promise you.
I'm dressing up.
Go for it. I won't.
I'm still gonna, I'm
I mean,
seeing
I'm
Char-
going to have clothes on, but
I'm
what's
going
that, Tyler?
I'm going to a Charlie XCX concert that week too, so I'm gonna be riding off the high of that. So
Nice.
Great.
Sick. Sick. Dan says, pulled over to say nice work with this story. Very appropriate for the new Palsverse member. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank
Glad
you,
you're driving
guys.
safe.
Yes. Always drive safe. Always drive safe. So April is Tom King month. Here at the Comics Pals, our next book club is Tom King based. You guys have already gone hard with the nominations.
That's right.
sorry, I thought our book club was the question: is Tom King based?
Uh,
Oh, is that what we're doing?
The
Okay.
answer, yes. Tom King, the base god. So if you're unfamiliar with how to nominate a book, it's really easy. Go to our Patreon. It's free to nominate. Just go find the nomination thread and name the Tom King book you want us to discuss. You can also do that on YouTube under the community tab. This is not just about the book club. This is a month dedicated to celebrating Tom King and how phenomenal of a writer he is and his influence over this industry over the last decade-ish. And a part of the way we're celebrating that is by doing a countdown. We're going to do a top 5 Tom King books. Each one of us will present to you our top 5, one pick a week until we reach the end. We're starting now so that we can get 5. So, are you guys ready to present your number 5?
Number 5.
I think so.
Yeah, there you go, Tyler. Go. So why don't you kick us off, Tyler?
Yeah, so my 5th is probably an unexpected one, and one I forgot about until I was going through all of his books. And it's actually Grayson. He
Oh.
did this with
Great
Tim
story.
Seeley, with art by Michael Janin on it, which I think was the first collaboration between him and Michael Janin. It was post Nightwing. Dick Grayson became an agent of Spiral, and like honestly, I had been kind of lukewarm on Dick Grayson as a character at the time, and Grayson was like, "Oh, this is wildly different." You know, he teamed up with Midnighter throughout a lot of this, and it was just a
Yeah.
really really damn good spy book. There's not much, but there's like a good omnibus of it that's really good, and I kind of wanted to go with one a little outside the usual for my fifth.
Who's on that new that was after the Nightwing, the New 52 one, right?
It was after that, and that was Kyle Higgins that did New 52.
Higgins, right, that's right, yes. That's a good one. I'm gonna go with Sheriff of Babylon. That was one of the first ones that I read that really got me into Tom King, alongside some others that we'll get to, obviously. But that was the first introduction. What I thought was a really strong entry for just who he is, like stylistically, and so I really appreciate that book. I feel like I need to go back to it because it's been so long, but I remember having visceral like emotional reactions, and that's always a good telltale sign of a writer.
You also have a Tom King book as your background right now, I think, right?
I do,
Oh,
yeah.
the
The
Winter
Hunter
Special.
Yeah, the Hunter
Yeah.
Special. Yep.
That's funny.
Hint, hint at what's going to be number one.
Huh? What?
So for me, my number 5 is Rorschach.
That's
Mm.
number
Uh,
5.
That's number 5. That is number 5.
Holy cow!
I know, and I loved Rorschach, but I
Yeah.
love Tom King. Don't take my Wonder Woman reviews to mean that I'm not a fan of this man. I adore Tom King's work. And Rorschach I found to be absolutely incredible. It's exactly what I hoped it would be without realizing that I hoped it. It's very respectful to Watchmen, and it more takes the idea of Rorschach and some of the things that Moore was playing with, and it extrapolates upon them, and it makes it very interesting. It tells a narrative that weaves in, some Watchmen stuff with also some real life cartoonist and comic book creator stuff that really gripped me. I thought the mystery was very compelling, and it was twisty and turny because it didn't do what I thought it was going to do, which was just include all the Watchmen characters and things like that. It's very respectful. It's very tasteful. It's transformative and special. And I think you will probably find something in this book for you, especially if you really love some of the history of comics. It's a tremendous book.
Yeah. Damn. 5? All right.
Oh, I love the books that are coming up. Trust me. Go ahead, Kale. What's yours?
I think mine number 5, and I had to think a while about this, but I think mine might be Omega Men.
Mm.
And it does what I really enjoy about Tom King and what I think he really does best. He takes a situation and it puts it in the far reaches of whatever setting, and then he puts a character that in it, and he twists it. And this was the first instance of that with Kyle Rayner and the Omega Men characters who hadn't been seen in years, probably decades. And he puts like a thematic dilemma in the middle of it. In Omega Men, it's roughly, and it's been a long time since I've read this book, but it's roughly that Kyle Rayner ends up as a victim of uh, 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 a, a criminal gang's a terrorist plot, basically. And then as he sort of works trying to fight against them, he ends up joining them because he realizes that actually they're the ones who are in the right. But what the it's that big question of, well, who's actually right? And that's one of those things that Tom King does really well, I think.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that one tackles the whole like morality of war bit too.
Yeah.
That's frequent in his work, especially
Yeah.
coming from an ex-CIA agent. Yeah.
Also, I regret that I didn't say this earlier, but the Jorge Fornes art in Rorschach is also tremendous.
Mm,
And it wasn't just Tom that made that book special. It's definitely Fornes as well. So
yeah. Yeah. And Sheriff Mitch Garrett's first collaboration there. So
woo, yes. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So every week we're gonna each present one book in our top 5, and we want you guys to be a part of it. If you've been with us since Batman month, you already know what we're talking about. I want to see the Discord flowing with Tom King discussion and Tom King books. Share your top 5 with us, whether you want to save it for the week of or drop your list, however you want to do it. Feel free. We love when you guys engage with us on this. And my biggest hope for Tom King month is to actually have Tom King on the show. That's what I want. So we're going to try to make that happen. But yes, week 1 of Tom King month in the books. I wanted to very quickly address the listener pick poll. The community poll on youtube.com/thecomicspals. I just wanted to go to it real quick. Because we are trying to break the record yet again. Last week, we broke the record of the most votes. This week, I think we can do it again because a whole boatload of you have already got on the task and voted, which I think if you're a listener of this show, you should absolutely be voting in the poll, especially if you watch us on YouTube anyway. But these are the books so far. Immortal Thor number 9 with 38% of the vote. Birds of Prey number 8 with 33%. So 2 massive books, 2 huge books, 2 of our favorite books. We just had Kelly on. Void Rivals number 8 at 13%, and The Sacrificers number 7 at 16%. So Indie getting smashed. This week, I guess Big 2 is just a definite winner. But what's it going to be? Do you want the Big Barda in a skimpy outfit issue of Birds of Prey? Or do you want Immortal Thor? That's really the question at hand right now. Or is the tide going to turn and freaking Void Rivals is going to take the whole thing? Cast your vote.
If we describe it as 4 dudes talking about Big Barter and her underwear, those Birds of Prey votes are going to go down. I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
I think people definitely want to hear that. Why not? I mean, geez. Yeah, so make sure you get your vote in. Let's talk about Ed Piskor.
oof.
That's not a name that we have said too much on this podcast. Ed Piskor is the creator of the Hip Hop Family Tree comic book and the X-Men Grand Design. And I don't know if it was X-Men.
Yeah.
Yep.
And kind of the creator of that whole Grand Design thing. And then of course, alongside Jim Rugg, he and Jim have the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel, which is very, very, very popular. Over 90K subscribers over on that channel. People really, really enjoy what they do, their commentary on the industry and everything like that. They get some great interviews. So it's a very, very popular YouTube channel. And Ed Piskor, a very popular artist, a very popular cartoonist. Now, this week, multiple women, many people think it's just one woman, multiple women have come forward and accused Ed Piskor of sexual misconduct. And I should say, not physical misconduct to my knowledge, but some level of grooming, and then also, just misconduct on the internet as it relates to women and advancements and things of that nature. So there was one particular individual. I think this is sort of where it all started. Where a young woman on Instagram came forward with accusations about Piskor that he was grooming her and making sexual advancements via social media to her when she was 17 years old. She had receipts. She posted them. These are from May of 2020, and the images depict, presuming they're not doctored, presuming that these are all legitimate, they depict Piskor very clearly trying to engage in sexual conversation and innuendo with this young woman. And she said, okay, Ed Piskor is a fucking creep. He likes little high school girls and slid in my DMs when I was 17 years old. I didn't know of him, and he found me simply by liking one of his pictures, sending me a post of myself in school uniform and calling me a cute, nerdy girl, and saying to come out to Pittsburgh and stay with him. He'd take me out to lunch to meet other PG cartoonists. Overall, fucking weird with no gray area for what he was trying to do over the course of a year. Obvious to anyone on this planet. Calling me a good girl and a naughty girl all the time. Sending me unfinished pages of his as a secret and gassing me up constantly, basically trying to groom me into whatever the fuck. Saying my art was so good and saying he'd promote my work. Eventually, as COVID phased out and I think he saw I was not just some nobody high school girl drawing gore art, I started ghosting him. Eventually, understanding this was weird as fuck. And like I said, she included the receipts. There are comments from him, again, calling her a nerdy girl, a naughty girl. It said, this one says, naughty girl, that's my favorite. I feel like you'd be a good partner in crime. You're not a snitch, are you? If we robbed some banks, you wouldn't rat me out, would you? And then in another one, he says, are you, first he compliments her work. She sends him some work, and he says, damn, this is incredible work. Are you 17 or 18? I'm going to be so mad if you say 17 because this crushes me at that age. So let me understand something, Mr. Piskor. It crushes you at 17, but not at 18? Her artwork is so amazing for a 17-year-old that even the mighty Ed Piskor can't compare when he was 17. But at 18, her artwork is pedestrian. It's no longer amazing. That's the difference here. Is 1 year is the difference between her art being phenomenal and average. Is that what we're saying?
I wonder what the significance of the year 17 and 18 would be.
Unbelievable. And you know what, Mr. Piskor, during that same year, that same 2020, when you were trying to groom this young high school girl, I was watching a little show called To Catch a Predator. And I read a lot of text. I went down a YouTube deep dive into this show. I watched many episodes. And the text messages that these fucking creeps were sending kids on that show look exactly like this. Oh, you wouldn't rat me out, would you? If we were to do a robbery, you wouldn't say anything, would you? Not that you have any plans of doing a robbery with her. That's not what he's talking about. All you have to do is read between the lines.
And that 17 or 18 thing is definitely like a, tell me you're 18, so I have that on text, Yeah.
Though you damn well know how old she is because that's the exact reason that you messaged her in the first place.
They're leading questions. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm not a detective. We established that earlier. I do not have the ability to suss out AI-generated images, nor am I a detective of what someone's intentions are. But you know who is? Chris Hansen.
Damn.
And
did he chime in?
Huh?
Did he chime in? Somebody go for a cameo or something?
I should have. That would have
wouldn't
been
that
fun.
be wild?
I actually have a cameo though, that I shared with you guys back in the day from Chris Hansen. But
What? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
my
you
girlfriend
remember?
got it for me for my birthday that year because I was so into the show that she was like, "Oh,
That's
that'd
right.
be a great
Holy
gift."
shit.
You
We
and
just
your
got a
vigilante
50 spot
arc.
from Hound. Maybe we should put that somewhere.
But I was like, what would Chris Hansen say? What would he say about this? What would his angle be?
Mm.
And it's like, so you say you want to rob a bank. You want to rob a bank with a 17-year-old girl. Oh, but you say maybe she's 18. Is it legal to rob banks with 18-year-olds and not 17-year-olds? Is that the angle we're going with here, Mr. Piskor? Just asking.
Take a seat.
Yeah, have a
I
seat.
can see that.
Have a seat. And so I think what Ed Piskor needs to do is have a seat and accept the fact that this is his moment in the sun where he has been exposed as a fucking creep. And everybody is coming for his ass now.
Not everybody.
Not quite everybody.
Wait,
Not
what?
quite everybody. We actually had a run-in with such a weirdo in our Discord server. And I'm going to share this
Oh,
because
that's right.
everything that individual was saying is the same narrative that people are using to defend Piskor in this situation. Oh, 17 is the legal age of consent in Pennsylvania, in PA. And also, he didn't say anything wrong. What's wrong with calling a legal age girl cute? That makes sense. Hey, he's an older guy trying to get with a younger girl. Isn't that just what we do? He likes hot chicks. What's wrong with that?
It's the biological imperative.
Right. Oh, it'd be so different if he was attractive. The only reason we're having this conversation is because Ed Piskor's not attractive. That's not what I'm saying. That's what this individual was saying. All these different narratives. And let me tell you something. And this is to anybody that can hear my voice. If you have to think about the age of consent in your state, there's a problem. Something is wrong. You should not have to think about that. You're 40, bro. What the fuck?
Word.
What is she gonna talk about with you? Taxes?
Art.
Yeah.
Ed Piskor has a lot to learn about art from a 17-year-old kid. Not that her art couldn't have been good. I'm sure it was, but come on, let's be real.
It was so good. He wished he was there at her age.
The thing that people neglect is that there's a distinction between legally in the wrong and morally in the wrong, and they're not exclusive to each other. You know, Jerry Seinfeld, when Seinfeld was out, was picking up his girlfriend from high school. That's creepy.
Yep.
Like, even though it is legally not wrong, the tabloids, kind of, put him to that. It was gross. It was weird. There's been multiple people in the comic sphere who've had similar things, and it's using your, I guess, position of power, which, do you really have one? It's comic book, guys. Come on, it's so niche. But using that position as somebody well-known to, it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia implication thing. It's the implication that, like, oh, well, I'm this, well-known person. You're just going to kind of go along with it, whether or not that's going to make up for all my other shortcomings. It's just creepy, and it's not okay. And it also, like, detracts from getting these type of people in the comic sphere in the long term.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know if this woman still is into art or making comics, but I got to imagine this didn't help her want to.
Disgusting.
And then the other thing is people complaining about, like, oh, why is she just coming out with this now? It's 20, this was 4 years ago. People grow up and they realize things in hindsight might have been weird. Simple.
Yeah, she was 17. Look at what happened with Harvey Weinstein. The dam broke, and then there were all these allegations. Women who were coming forward over years. Why did they stay silent? Because they were intimidated by his power and influence. Ed Piskor does have power and influence on some level. And even if you don't think he does, a 17-year-old who is also an artist who thinks he's super talented and great would definitely think he has power and influence over their career.
There's an impressionability there. Just like, oh, I don't know better, kind of thing. And maybe after time you get to reflect on that. And thankfully this person did.
And again, it wasn't just this girl. People tried to dismiss this girl. Okay, you don't believe a 21-year-old who was 17 when she was being groomed by this individual? Okay, sure, fine. You don't believe that. Well, what about the other people who've come forward? What about Molly Wright? who was a cartoonist and animator, that alleged that Piskor offered her his agent's phone number in exchange for uh in exchange for a certain sex act.
Yeesh.
That's vile. And she posted that on Instagram. She came forward. And she had a lot of things to say. I just can't get into all of it, but she had a lot of things to say. Safeta Darling also posted on X saying, quote, "I can 100% attest to his behavior. Last year, Piskor invited me to his home because he wanted to draw me nude in exchange for me getting introduced to bigger industry folks. This was mid-July, and she shared he had just ended a relationship."
Mans was out there. Not it, dude. I've clicked through and it looks like some of these posts have been deleted since.
Yeah.
But the article that we have here references on Comics Beat. You know, it has text included to confirm.
And you can only imagine those things have been deleted through the flack they've been getting for coming out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And also, by the way, newsflash, people don't want to be associated with this. If you're an artist if you're a working artist trying to make your bones, you don't want to be the woman that, you know, called out Ed Piskor and have that be your reputation. For a lot of women and people that come forward with allegations, it does sort of become the scarlet letter. So yeah, I believe they deleted it. But like Marco said, we have the receipts, we have the facts. And
enough so that even like Jim Rugg, his co-host on Cartoonist Kayfabe, who did the Hulk version of the X-Men book he did. I forget the name of it. Grand Design.
Yeah.
He came out yesterday and saying he's ending his working relationship with Ed Piskor.
That's right. Yep, on his Instagram.
I mean, good for Rugg, but just shitty situation all around. I think the last time we talked about Piskor was when he was doing an homage cover to his smut comic that was an homage to Mouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Who would have known that guy would make creepy decisions?
Who would have known that a white guy from Pennsylvania, who put out a book called Hip Hop Family Tree, co-opting a whole other culture, and also has been accused multiple times of throwing around the N-word all the time. Who would have thought that a guy like that would also do something like this? Well, I have a little fun fact for you. I wanted to come into this conversation well-read and well-researched. So I took a look at some of the more recent releases of Cartoonist Kayfabe, a channel that was taken down and then brought back up.
Oh, yeah?
They recently did a video in which they discussed X-Men number 30. Do you know what happens in X-Men number 30? I do. Jean Grey and Scott get married. And during that conversation, Ed Piskor himself brings up Professor Xavier and the fact that in the early X-Men comic books, Professor Xavier was attracted to Jean Grey.
Oh, yeah.
A teenager. And he went out of his way to bring that up multiple times throughout that episode. Just thought it was funny.
Damn.
Just thought it was funny.
I don't trust anyone who willingly wears sunglasses indoors.
Bro, and the level of just like the graphic nature of Red Room as well, like that this is making sense from like even the stuff that he was exploring in his most recent art was gross.
I mean, not to say that art can exist, but when it exists by somebody who has a history of stuff, it's like, oh, okay, well, it exists, and also I can see why.
Right, and that's more so the like I can understand that it exists and that's fine for it to do so, but in light of this in particular, it's like, okay, there's always been a fascination for it, and it's one of action, not just inaction and willing to explore for aesthetic.
I mean,
this shit was on the news.
Dude, yeah,
Damn.
I was gonna say he was on the Pittsburgh News. The
Was
news
he
people
really?
They dox his address. They like his dad is outside arguing with the newscast, like the
Fuck.
news person. It's bad.
It includes his lawyer talking about age of consent.
Which you
Yeesh.
never want.
And it's like, no one is asking for Ed Piskor to go to jail for this. That's not what's at stake here. That's not the point of this. The point is that there shouldn't be a person, any kind of person of any gender, who is using their influence, their status, their age to make people do things sexually that they otherwise wouldn't be inclined to do. Take the 17-year-old out of the equation. You should not be approaching any person and saying, hey, I'll give you my agent's number if you perform a sex act on me. That's
Hey,
gross.
Would you let me draw you nude so I can introduce you to comic book professionals?
I mean, that's
Hey, Sean, I
That's
know
so
Jeff
niche.
Johns. Can I draw you naked?
Right. Like,
is this how Comic Spell started? I thought we were waiting for episode 400 for that.
Oh no.
unbelievable. The crazy amazing J-Man says, when you hear the news about him and then consider the type of comics he made, it makes you
Yes.
wonder, what if one of those girls took him up on his offer?
Ooh,
It's like,
bro.
yeah, sure, I'll come over and stay with you, guy who makes weird deep web sex p-word rape comics. Yeah, it's awful. And by the way, I've never seen your name before, so thank you for hanging out with us. But yes, you're absolutely right. It is awful, and it sucks that women are being preyed on in that way, that any person would be preyed on.
And it's like the comic space needs to be a safer space, and that's why I think calling shit out like this is good. Because if we can kind of weed people like this out, it makes it safer so that people who are women, people who don't identify as either gender, can be in the space, which allows for more diverse art and different types of stories and different types of art styles, and just more stuff to read and enjoy. It's only better if that's the case.
I mean, it's better so that people aren't being sexually harassed. Full
That's it.
stop. That shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing in comics. It shouldn't be a thing on the street. It shouldn't be a thing in your house. It shouldn't be a thing anywhere. And it should always be rooted out. These motherfuckers gotta go. And you want to know what's so funny? 4 years ago, when I think it was Warren Ellis and Cameron Stewart got exposed for whatever business they were involved in, there was this whole wave on.
It's the
Go
same
ahead, Kev.
stuff. It's the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, there was a wave of people signing this pledge that said, "Oh, we will not do this. We'll protect women and all that stuff." And I thought that was weird, not because people were doing it, but more because it was like, if you didn't do it, then that meant you were a piece of shit. And so every man in comics felt they had to do it. The funny thing is that Ed Piskor was one of them. He was one of them.
The call is coming from inside the house.
He was doing it at the same time.
Yep.
Fucking crazy.
He's signing it and be like, that'll get him off my tail.
Right. Huh. Oh man, if this doesn't get you hot and angry, I don't know what else does.
That kind of hot.
Yeah.
Man, Piskor was an R. Crumb fan too, and this is lining up even more now. Yikes.
Yeah.
Fuck that dude. Let's talk about Image Comics. Let's talk about Saga, actually, and Image
Ooh.
Comics. So this is an interesting one. Image Comics is taking a dive into the YA space, and they're using one of their most popular books of all time to do that. They're using Saga. So this September, Image is going to re-release Saga in a 6x9 format, which is a smaller format, right? That's going to be resembling, a lot of like YA books, a lot of like manga styling.
Tankobons.
Boy, Marco, no one knows what that is. Is that what size Oni Press books are?
Some of them, I believe. It's also the one that DC is doing for the reprints of books.
Oh yeah, okay.
I really like this. I think this is smart. I absolutely think it's smart. This will retail for $9.99, which is the exact right price point. But I think it's hilarious that it gives you the first 6 issues. And if you wanted to buy the equivalent of that, Well, if you wanted to buy that actually what I was about to say wouldn't be fair to Image, because if you wanted to buy the first trade of Saga, it would actually cost the same amount
Right.
because
Yeah,
of their
it's-
Image First initiative.
Yeah.
So actually, props to Image. That's a good thing.
yeah.
So I wouldn't consider Saga a YA book though. It's the
Especially
first
that opening
page
page.
is
Yeah.
oh fuck, I can feel it, and it's a violent naked
Is it-
birth scene.
Yeah, isn't the first thing she says I'm shitting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
She's,
I mean, I
like,
haven't
having
read
an-
YA books recently, so I don't. Who knows? But
I think it's I think it's enough of a book where it becomes that. It's 50 issues in later, right? But I don't know that that's not something that a like 13 through 17-year-old can't handle.
Hell yeah. Please. I was watching things way, way, way crazier than this. I was watching The Sopranos. I was
You're watching
watching
Howard
Sex and the
Stern.
City. Yeah, like forget it. I agree that it's not the intended audience of the book is not YA, but I don't think there's a reason why young people can't read this. Obviously, parental discretion is going to be a factor, and that's always an issue. But yeah,
I gotta say, and I don't know what it is, but have you ever held one of these books before? This format?
Yes,
It
yeah,
feels better. Does that make sense?
because it's like nice and compact in your hand.
The weight distribution is better for me to hold. It sounds so stupid as I'm saying it, but I
No,
do
no.
think there's a benefit to it.
Because the bigger of the format, right? Like it leans over a little bit more. This is like you can keep it taut a little bit easier. I feel it's nice.
it's going to be interesting to see what the reaction to this is because, as Matt Garcia says in the chat, thank you for hanging out with us. He says Saga is not a YA book, and that is accurate. So, you know, whether like we already know about all the book bannings that go on and everything else. Saga is way less tame than a lot of the books that do end up getting banned for not being suitable for children.
Yeah.
And have themes that tackle those similar things, but gets by. It squeaks by.
I mean, the themes are heavy in Saga. You know, there's a full-on arc that's about an abortion.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or there's trans people, right? There are gay people there. Like
Well,
the
what's wrong
full-
with that?
No, what I'm saying is those squeak by, like as opposed to the books that do get banned.
Yeah, I think Image definitely is going to be they're putting themselves in an interesting spot. CW Gordon says it's a weird one to market 2 children as their first attempt. I have no problem personally, but they know this is going to get them press.
Maybe it's the play.
No press is bad press.
Yeah.
And also, though, what about the idea? Like, obviously, we know that this is you know intended for YA, like theoretically, right? And that this is more marketable in this style to kids than regular readers of comics. But what about the possibility that this is actually trying to get in the adult reader who doesn't read comics and doesn't know about Saga, but they see this cute little book that features, the first 6 issues and says, huh, okay, I'll give this a try in a format that's more travel friendly and things like that.
I think it depends on where we see it sold. If it's sold, it depends on which section of a Barnes & Noble it's sold in. If that's in YA, then they're marketing it towards YA. If it's just in the graphic novel section, it's different. Will it be at airports, duty-free Saga number 10 or number volume 1 or whatever? I think that's where we'll have a better idea of what their intention is.
It's a great point.
And I also think the all new cover is by Fiona Staples, by the way. And I think the cover for volume 1 not being issue 1's cover that is depicting breastfeeding is a choice, I feel. Because I think
one?
issue 1 did depict that. It's the 3 of them. It's like a portrait almost.
Oh, yes.
And I think that already tells you before you even open the book, like, all right, there are adult themes in here because they're dealing with adult and motherhood and stuff like that. I think this cover is a little more sanitized. Not to say that there's anything inherently mature about breastfeeding, but at least from a book cover perspective, it's just 3 sci-fi characters running. It says
There's a
less
lot
to
of
me.
there's a lot of drug use in Saga too. I forgot
Oh, yeah.
about that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Boy.
A lot of it's like heavy shit.
Yeah. So child sex slaves are in it, you know. The Million Mom coalition is gonna love this one.
But it's a challenge. I think it's I think it's an
They don't give a
aesthetic
shit
challenge.
about that, Marco.
What?
The people that are doing book banning, they don't give a shit about a challenge.
No, for sure. But I think I don't think it's bad. I think the contents of the book and being positioned it for those kids. I think it might be a net good.
We'll see how it plays out. We will definitely see how it plays out. Matt Garcia says Image is probably better off releasing something like I Kill Giants, which is a bit more of a YA type book.
Sure.
I don't disagree.
I think though they would want it to be a long-term series, and Saga fits that mold as well, where I Kill Giants is pretty much a graphic. It's just like a single graphic novel you pick up and you put down. I can get return customers with Saga.
Well, like I said, September is when that releases. Let us know if you buy it. Let us know if you buy it.
Let us know if you're protesting it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, we'll think you're dumb, but we'd hear you out.
I won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a murky one because I could certainly understand a parent not wanting their kid to read this. I can see that. But it should be parental discretion.
Yeah. Like I can definitely see like, someone I don't know that a parent should buy this for their kid, or that a parent would think, oh, this has a bunch of drug use and, sexual themes and, all that. I better buy it for my 12-year-old.
Right.
But, I can definitely see 12-year-olds getting it.
Yeah. I'd buy it for my 13-year-old. Like, I think you can handle this shit.
I just went like, you have a 13-year-old? I'm like, what the hell?
I'm a child.
It seemed
No,
plausible.
man.
Secrets of Marco. Let's talk about Thanos. Let's talk about Thanos. Thanos is back at Marvel.
Oh, I checked out during the wrong story.
Wow. By
I
the
just
way,
needed a brain break.
make sure you smash that like button. We want to
Smash!
play a Batman themed spin the wheel. So that's what we're going to do at the end of the show. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Thanks for sticking with us.
You got it. That's 30.
Perfect. Beautiful. You guys are tremendous. You guys are amazing. Thanos is making his return to the pages of Marvel Comics for Infinity Watch, which is going to be a story that plays out across several annuals this summer as Thanos is trying to acquire the Infinity Stones that have now attached themselves to a variety of different characters, and it appears some of those characters are actually new ones. It also seems like they're introducing a new stone, the Death Stone, the Death Infinity Stone, which is a choice. These will be written by these annuals. The pieces of these annuals that will be Thanos based and Infinity Watch based will be written by Derek Landry. And Sarah Pacelli will also she'll be his collaborator for this, for these backups. So the first one is Thanos Infinity Watch Annual number 1, Part 1, which is written by Derek Landry with art by Salvador LaRocca. The solicitation reads, "Welcome to Infinity Watch. Thanos goes off to find the Infinity Stones, but he's in for a shock when he discovers that the Infinity Stones have been incorporated into actual people, like Star, Quantum, Overtime, Prince of Power, and Multitude. Wait, there are 6 Infinity Stones, but only 5 people listed? You don't want to miss the start of this Marvel Universe-shaking saga." I do want to miss it.
Damn.
Yep.
I do want to, because Thanos has become a joke. He is a jobber. I don't feel he's relevant anymore, and they have gone to that well too many times. Thanos is like the end boss, and I see him as not similar in power or whatever, but like a dark side-ish type of character in the sense that he's the final boss. You trot him out every few years for a big major story, but otherwise he should probably be on the sideline. But
Is
when
he
you
a
got
final
the
boss?
guy just appearing in a backup of all these annuals, and you know he's just gonna get beat, it's like, who cares?
He doesn't feel like an end boss for me anymore. Especially coming out of something like Eternals, he feels like he's a villain in the Marvel universe. Like he's not even that big for me anymore. For it to have this kind of lasting power, I think he's
Doctor
more,
Doom is bigger than Thanos. At
yeah,
this point.
I would be more scared of Doctor Doom than I would Thanos, I think.
Well, there's a reason. He's an IP at this point. That's why. That's why there is Thanos,
Thanos.
books. He's
Yeah.
not even returning. There was a Thanos book last year.
Oh, that's right.
The Thanos #1 was last year by Christopher Cantwell, and it had Return of the Mad Titan was the thing below it.
And he's looking for the Infinity Stones again.
what's the list for this one? Thanos versus the Illuminati. The Mad Titan descends upon Earth to retrieve something he has lost, and the Illuminati must band together to stop him because they're the ones who hid it from him. Spoiler, I bet you it has to do with the Infinity Stones.
It's his whole bag, right?
And like this whole idea of the Infinity Stones being people, like Star is one of them from Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel run, and she wrote the Star miniseries as well. That's been a lingering plot thread for years now. When they first split off into different people, I think that was in one of the Infinity events where like Gamora was a villain, sort of. It's just been too long for me to even care about that plot point anymore. Like I forgot where it even started. Like that's how long it's been. It's probably been like 5 years. So I don't care who the 5th person is because we've only really used Star.
I think the Soul Stone's gonna become the Death Stone.
No, that already exists. It's in one person already.
They've added a stone.
It's the 6th
But-
finger.
But here it says that they only have 5.
5 people, 6 stones. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And who knows, like Thanos is to me a cool character. I like Thanos. Thanos obviously became incredibly popular with Endgame and with the Marvel movies, but I've been a fan of the character since way before that. He doesn't have heat anymore.
Right.
He
right.
doesn't. And throwing him in the back matter of annuals, doing the same thing he always does, is whatever. And it smacks to me of the same thing that I felt about Marvel Comics for some time, which is that they're just doing whatever's going to make money, and they're not really thinking that deeply about the creative. And I hate to say things like that, but that's how it feels.
The last time I liked Thanos was Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw, because it pretty much gave Thanos his Future Imperfect story. Like in retrospect, reading in Future Imperfect, like that's what the Thanos book was by Donny Cates. And he did something interesting with the character. He had to fight with himself more than anything. It's always Infinity Gauntlets, Infinity Stones, and simping over death. That's all Thanos ever is, really, at this point.
And we've lost the simping over death. That would be interesting again.
I agree. I think people can actually play with that more. I want to hear Spider-Man call him a simp. That's all I want to see.
CW Gordon says, at least they're relegating this to annuals. I'll give them that. I mean, but I guess, but I'd almost rather it be not, because annuals are like $10.
Word.
Marvel
yeah.
annuals are like $8 to $10. They're super expensive.
You're
Well,
gonna give me an event that I don't care about, and you're gonna make me pay for it.
No. They're counting on you not doing it, but the people that will pay $10 for it, and that's how they'll make up the cost.
Especially putting the name Infinity Watch on this and Ron Lim in there as well. Like that's going to appeal to the same people that are buying, Daredevil Black. They're buying Spider-Man 2099. It's that retro section of Marvel Comics I always talk about. That's using keywords that can get people who maybe only buy back issues to look into this.
Yeah, absolutely. LTRX says they did Wolverine and Loki and the Stones following Overwatch, I think, and then a bunch of annuals with the other people who got an Infinity Stone, if I recall correctly. Yeah, there was some type of thing they did and that was sort of similar to this, and it's just like they're even spinning their wheels on the exact same idea in the exact same distribution model.
And just artistically, so your artists are Salvatore LaRocca, Ron Lim, and Sarah Pichelli. LaRocca and Lim, maybe I can see being side by side. Pichelli does not seem like those other two. So, like, as I'm reading this, you're going to get whiplash going from LaRocca to Pichelli, just in terms of art style. And that doesn't seem appealing to me either.
Nothing here is appealing to me. Nothing.
I do like
just
Star
can't
as a character. Oh, that's as much as I can give it.
Can't get behind this. I'm sorry. It's just do better. I love Thanos. I want him to be, yeah, right. I want him to be involved, but just not like this. I think there's a lot more interesting things that can be done than the same thing that they always do.
Don't involve him, man. Just leave him alone. Don't need this.
Comic Boom says the moment a villain gets their own title is a problematic sign, diminishing returns. I actually largely agree with that. I don't like villains as the title character of a book. I think it largely doesn't work. I think it largely does not yield really great stories. There are exceptions, but I'm not a fan of that.
Even the ones that like are exceptions, like I really like Joker, and Bean really liked it too.
Yeah,
but that's a Gordon book. You know, that was the Joker still being a villain, but Gordon was his foil, really.
Well, in the book, the main character of the book was Gordon.
Yeah.
And that's my issue with the villain titles, is that the villains are supposed to be unknowable to a degree. You know, an air of mystery and threat. And as soon as you make them the main character, that vanishes.
And my fear is that, like, the only reason we're getting this is because Thanos is popular from the films. So once we get Doctor Doom in the movies, are we going to get? I mean, we're already getting a Doctor Doom one shot by Hickman coming up in like a month or two. But is it going to be Doctor Doom series? It's like crazy. Cantwell did an amazing Doctor Doom book, because I think Doom is a little enough of a gray area at points where it can work. But like we had a Kang series already because there was a movie.
2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they do the X-Men movies, are we going to get? What are we going to get? Magneto books? Oh, wait a minute.
You know, Magneto's a character who's meaningfully progressed beyond the point of being a villain, and I can get with that. And then there's even like the Joker, the Brian Azzarello Joker from the 2000s that was tremendous, but it didn't feature the Joker as the main character. He was being observed by other people. And I thought that was really compelling. But to just throw a book out there that follows Thanos, you know, on his adventure to get the stones, like, please miss me with that. And also, fuck stones. They're gems, please. Sick of this.
The Death Stone, though, don't you want to see the reveal? What it'll do?
Nope.
I want to see Thanos fuck that stone.
What?
Oh.
I'm tired of this. Get that Death Stone and get Thanos fucking it.
Kel wants
Otherwise,
sounding in
don't
his
call
comics.
me.
Kel needs
So,
more
Kel, what you
sounding
can-
in Marvel Comics.
What you can do is you can go to midjourney.com and you can put that in there and you can get that if
Midjourney.
that's what you want.
And it's .com, not cum, Cal. Just make sure you're typing in that in. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be CUMing.
That is.
Can he get demonetized for spelling things out? I don't know.
No. Oh,
Thanos
my
and
goodness.
Death Soak.
They're Mormon?
All right. Thank you. If you are listening to this right now and you are not subscribed to our channel, please do hit that subscribe button and make sure that you are made aware of when we drop new videos, when we are live, all those kinds of things. It helps us out, but it also helps you out if you enjoy this show and you want to stick with us and stay consistent with everything that we release. So make sure you hit that subscribe button as we get into our last news piece today. And it is a small one. Mostly it is to remind you or to let you know that today is Batman Day. March 30th is Batman Day. This is Batman's 85th anniversary.
Damn, he's
And
old.
to celebrate that, DC is releasing free copies of Detective Comics number 27 in certain spaces in New York today. Now, this is the level of dedication that I have to this podcast. I desperately want a copy of one of these. I want a Detective Comics number 27 for free. Why? because this actually features a reimagined modern telling of the first Batman story done by an insanely good creative team. Brad Meltzer and Brian Hitch.
All right.
Huh. Was this this is a new thing?
I guess
Or,
it says
like-
modern retelling included.
I wonder if it was like canned somewhere, you know.
Got some of the art here in the Bleeding Cool article, and it looks pretty good.
Oh, it says this was originally published in the New 52 Detective Comics, number
Oh.
27. As
John,
part of
you-
the 75th anniversary.
You
Oh.
probably have that.
I might. I
So
want
don't
this.
sweat it.
I want it.
Sean, you made me sign on when I could have been waiting online to get an issue of number 27. Free, mind you.
Listen, we do this for the people. So just in case you live in New York and you want to grab one of these, Action City Comics, Alex's MVP cards and comics, Bulletproof Comics and Games, Forbidden Planet NYC, St. Mark's Comics, Midtown Comics, all the variants. They all have it. Am I going to get out there after this and go do that? No.
It's nice out though, Sean. Might be a good
It
walk.
is nice. I'm going to take a walk, bro.
I have a nap in my future because I am old. And then I have a date with Dune. I am finally going to go see Dune 2.
Wow.
In
You going-
IMAX, or did you
you
give
going
up
solo?
on that? Oh, I should have said
I
everything.
had to. Dude, it's booked weeks out. Weeks out. I can't get a ticket. I cannot get an IMAX ticket to save my ass.
You see that one guy on Twitter who saw it 20 times is now getting gifted stuff from like AMC and the Dune like social media.
Yet I sit here not having seen the movie at all in IMAX. Douchebag.
The one of the negatives of living in New York City, Sean.
Wow.
You'll have to go out to Jersey or something.
There's only one good IMAX in the entirety of New York, the New York City area. It is that's criminal.
I can't wait for it to drop on Max and me cook a nice steak dinner.
He's gonna watch it on a PSP.
Oh my goodness. Well, to celebrate Batman and his 85th, boy, is this dude old. We are going to we're going to spin the wheel because you guys got us to our likes goal. You guys are tremendous and you did the thing. So we're going to do the thing. We're going to spin the wheel and it is Batman themed. So wherever it lands, we are going to play a game, unless it's give me the green light. We're going to play a game based around Batman on some level. So Tyler, spin the wheel and let's see where things land.
And here we go. Spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel.
In the wheel, in the wheel.
And of course, just give me the green light.
No way.
That's hilarious. We'll do another one after.
Okay, all right. No, you know what? Let's save give me the green light for another time. Let's just do the Batman one. I don't want to ruin the theme.
Well, I was gonna say I can do a quick Comic-Con if we want to do a green light.
Okay, I got one ready.
I know we've done 4 weeks of
Yeah.
Comic-Con, but
I think I'd like to do something that's not that.
All right. So you want me
Right.
to spin again, and then we'll do one back to back, or we'll do this one now, and then we'll do another one. I'll spin it again.
Just spin it again.
Okay. All right.
Jason Finestone Color says, "What do you think that good IMAX is in NYC?" It's the Lincoln Square one, right?
Be the editor, Sean.
Hey, okay. All right. So, Be the Editor is a game in which we receive a prompt and we have to pitch a story based on the prompt. A story, a creative team, and everything else. So, this is this week's prompt. Pitch a creative team, characters, and premise for Bruce Wayne's final story as Batman. So, in your mind, Bruce Wayne's final story as Batman, who's working on it? What's the creative team? What's the idea? Well, what's the creative team and then what's the idea, if you have it? Creative team, characters, premise. What are you doing?
Okay. Oof.
Final.
It's funny. I was thinking one. I'm like, oh, we just read Dark Age. That was my idea. Shit. Okay.
Jason says, thanks, Sean. That's what I would have guessed, but wanted to make sure I wasn't missing it. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for commenting. I haven't seen your name here before. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I have seen some pretty amazing movies in that theater, including the Warcraft movie. Yes, I think that movie
Underrated.
was awesome.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that theater, but it's
Sean,
always packed. Yeah,
do the prompt one more time. I'm just gonna put it in the chat.
sure. Pitch a creative team, characters, and premise for Bruce Wayne's final story as Batman.
Gotcha.
The creative team is where I'm having issues. I know the premise already.
Mm. I'm very interested to hear what you've got cooking.
Do you have one, Sean?
Oh, I
Since you had
don't.
Okay.
I come in here not cocked.
Hand check.
Like I don't pre-prep for this.
Have my creative team.
Okay.
I don't have my premise.
Okay. Let me see.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking just an annual. I'm thinking similar to, whatever happened to the Cape Crusader, the Neil Gaiman one. But I want Batman on his deathbed, and I want him to be visited by and by old age possibly. I want him to be visited by all of the Robins. And just a reflection on their relationship in single, quick little stories. And then I would want those stories to be written by some of the. I think Tom King could write the bookended piece of Batman on his deathbed. I think he's written a really good introspective Batman in his Batman run, even though people hate that. But then I would want maybe Morrison and Quitely to come back for Dick Grayson's story. I would maybe want. I'm trying to think of actually not even Dick Grayson's, Damien's story.
Both?
I mean, yeah, you can get a easier page rate if you get less artists. And then I'm just trying to think of like prominent people for Jason Todd and for Tim Drake as well. Maybe even like Jeff Johns to come back for Tim Drake. Just to tell that kind of story. Even though he wrote Tim in Titans, right? Was he in that? Yeah. And I'm not sure if he's ever really tackled the Batman of it all with that. But then I would want it to end as well with Selina. And I think Tom King telling his end tale with Batman and Selina at the end as well.
That was very close to what I had in mind as well, Tyler. That was very good. I like that a lot.
I think mine won't be like that. Mine would be an action story. Because I don't think Bruce Wayne is going to die happily. But I think, and again, I don't have specifics, but I think I would want it to be something noir-y. I think I would want to take him back to his roots a bit. Maybe even something. I'm not married to this, but something kind of similar to the Dan Slott Old Man Spider-Man issue that he did.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Not in that everybody in Gotham loves him, but he does get clipped by that random that random bullet.
He gets Omar'd?
It's Omar.
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the one that gets him. Oh, or hold on. He gets done the way his parents got done.
I was going to say that, yeah.
That's
Do you
too
kill him off in
sad.
Crime Alley?
I kind of like that, actually.
Does he die in Crime Alley?
My whole thing is that it has to be noir. It has to be of a certain type of like detective story built around whatever, with that death being the end point.
Now,
Go.
I was going to say, do you have that death be witnessed by a young boy as well? that then spent this.
You know what?
Batman mythos. It's ever continuing.
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah.
I I don't I don't want, and I don't think Bruce would want Batman to be celebrated. Like, I think in his heart of hearts, he knows that Batman is a necessity, but his goal is to not have it continue because it's not needed. Does that mean, he isn't needed anymore when Bruce dies? That's not relevant. Now, my creative team,
Yeah.
Brubaker. And this one might be controversial, but I'm leaning on
Sorrentino.
inks here. I'm leaning on heavy inks here. Mignola.
Oh.
He did Gaslight, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. I don't hate that at all.
So
I do like amazing. No, it was the C.W. Gordon said, "Happy birthday, Happy birthday, Batman! You're dead."
in that same vein, I'm gonna start with my creative team. I was thinking of like something heavy with inks. I wanted to do Capullo, but it just didn't feel right for the story. I want to do Kelly Jones. And I want the writer to be Alan Moore. And what I want is I want it to be a funeral where like they're carrying the casket, and as he passes, each of a member of the Bat family, there's a flashback where it deals with an aspect of Batman. So that being the noir stuff, be it some of the camp, be it some of the adventure, be it detective work, from the perspective of an adventure with that Bat family member, and it tie into a specific trophy in Batman's cave. So there's a noir adventure that deals with the giant T-Rex, and it's with Batgirl. There's the freeze gun that is a detective story that is with Damien. There is the giant penny that is camp from the perspective of Tim. And as you go down
Almost. Ooh, you were so close.
damn. And as it goes down, like they reflect on him, in that style that they probably attach themselves to, and a crime that they've solved alongside with him.
I like that. These
Camp
are all
would obviously have to be Dick Grayson.
I was gonna go with that, but I was like, is that more adventure-y? I think I
He's got the
switched. I
tidy
feel like I
white
switched them.
things. Yeah, he's got the Speedo.
Yeah. Damn.
he's got the Speedo.
They try to retcon that Speedo. No, it exists. It always will exist.
So I really like the idea of, a big sort of epic last story. And I don't even think it could fit in one singular comic. I think it would need to be, an arc of some sort. And I really love the idea of bringing back into the fold some of the greatest creators to touch the Batman character to tell this story. So for me, I want Morrison involved. I also want Snyder and Capullo involved. I want Quietly involved. I want Kubert involved. I want to bring all those people. I want Tom King involved. I want everybody.
Wait, we can do an anthology?
No,
Did
just be
it-
one of those really
yeah.
thick books.
I said I want it to be an arc for mine. You can do whatever you want.
Oh, dude, then
The
I would
prompt
just
was
done like
story,
a whole.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Man, AI guy doesn't even know how prompts work.
But so what I want to do is I want to seed an overarching mystery and narrative, not dissimilar from like a Hush or something like that, to create a through line that feels familiar on purpose as it's celebrating the legacy of Bruce. And I want there to be this one final case that involves all the Bat family. I want it to involve a majority of the villains with Batman, you know, having to solve this one final case. And I think what I want is for him to know that he has a terminal illness and work through this case as he works through his life and reflects on his life, trying to set things right that aren't right, relationships with the Bat family that he knows can be fixed as he prepares them for a future without him. And once it's all said and done and it's over and he knows it, you know, I want there to be a moment similar to what Tyler described where he is dying and everybody has to deal with that. But it doesn't end there. After Bruce dies, it's about the successor. It's about who will become Batman, because there must be a Batman. And I think Bruce would say that. I think Bruce would emphasize, because he knows the importance of Batman in Gotham. He would never want to leave Gotham without one. And so I think ultimately the Bat family would sit and discuss this post Bruce's death, and it would be determined that it should be Dick, that Dick Grayson will be Batman.
Did you want a battle for the cow?
No battle.
Okay, no battle. Got it.
A
You don't want a two-faced Batman.
A talk of the cow.
Would it be one singular writer throughout, or no? You said you wanted like multiple different
All
people,
stars. Yeah, I want
Would
all
you-
the. Go ahead.
Would there be somebody bookending it, or just continuation? Is it like the Commandi challenge or whatever?
Well, I think Morrison as the bookender, just because I mean this is all personal, right? So for me, my Batman begins there, so that's what I would do.
Strangely, none of us really mentioned Joker directly. I know you wanted the villains, Sean, but as I'm hearing everyone else, I'm like, oh, nobody really. Are we all Jokered out?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a world where Joker has anything to do with Batman's death.
Right, they're
Oh,
way
yeah,
too
yeah.
tethered in my mind. Like the way people use them is too tethered, and I just don't. Fundamentally, I don't agree that the Joker and Batman have to be tethered, and I would not want to reflect that at the end.
I had like a vague idea of like, you know, when I said I wanted to take him back to his roots a bit. I had the vague thought of he falls into a vat of acid and, you know, he doesn't become the Joker, but like
He just
He
dies
becomes-
like everyone should.
Yeah.
He just becomes the Batman who laughs. Yay. Oh boy. Thank you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that round of Be the Editor. I feel like those are pretty solid pitches, DC.
Yeah.
Get on that. Go kill
Not
Batman
AI.
now. Yeah, no, not AI.
No AI.
well, Mark
Caleb-
Rose was
Okay, who's your writer?
Brubaker.
Brubaker. That's right.
Yeah, so few things before we close out. The next time we'll be live with you is this Thursday. We'll be doing Pals polls. Make sure you vote in the listener pick poll to influence what books we are going to read. I will share with you guys, since you're still here, what is actually going to be in the episode. It's Ghost Machine Day. Ghost Machine Day is next week, and so we are going to be reviewing all of the Ghost Machine books that they're putting out. Rook Exodus #1, Redcoat #1, Geiger #1. Then we're also going to talk about Batman 146 and The One Hand #3.
Ooh. Yeah.
So solid lineup of books. And then, of course, the listener pick, which you guys get to choose. Head on over to the community tab and cast your vote for the book that you want us to talk about. Marco got the poll up for which final Batman story you all are most interested in. We'll refer to that again a little bit later. Make sure you get your nominations in for the Tom King Month Book Club. We will be closing nominations this coming week, so make sure you get them in as quickly as you can. Then the voting process will begin over on Patreon. So if you want to vote, if you want to directly influence which book wins the poll, head on over to patreon.com/thecomicspals, become a supporter of ours, and you get access to the ability to vote alongside many other things. If you enjoyed the story that I shared about Izzy, the Spear of Justice, Izzy Spears earlier, that could be you. That could be you.
Can I have a proposition for the next Palsverse?
Fire.
We haven't had a villain in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since our last villain, I think. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm saying.
Just didn't feel right for Izzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It played on stuff well.
If you feel like a villain and you give off villain vibes, subscribe to our Patreon.
There was one person who wanted to be a villain. I forget. I don't think they're a part of it anymore, but they had wanted to be a villain. I thought that was cool. So, again, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. We love you. We will see you on Thursday. Until then, take care, guys.
See ya.